Welcome to episode 2 of Tortured Bourbon. Where are we going tonight, Heather?
We are going back in time to everyone's first foray into brown liquor.
Oh, really?
We are. And that takes me all the way back to college. I think that's probably true for you, too.
Absolutely.
So I remember several years ago, you asked me what my first experience with whiskey was, and you said you bet you could guess.
I did.
And what did you guess?
I guessed Jack and Coke.
And you were right.
Yeah. It's synonymous. I mean, it's synonymous with everyone's first time. Is that even a word? Synonymous? Is that the right word?
That's the right word.
Okay, it's synonymous with everyone's drinking. Jack and Coke is where it starts, and my guess is that somebody literally took it for you a Diet Coke.
Yes,
Diet Coke,
of course.
And
Diet Coke is superior.
Poured some Jack in a glass, and that was that.
That was that. Like we've talked about before, it was available at every best college party. That, rum and Coke, and cranberry vodka were kind of your three mixed drink choices.
And later I taught you that a rum and Coke is a Cuba Libre.
For the pretentious among us, yes.
My dad was from Florida. Okay, so...
that's a story for another day.
Another day. So Jack and Coke, yep, it was my go-to, no doubt. And then I discovered Jack, Coke, and Jack and Honey. Oh boy.
You haven't shared that.
Well, that's a
combination.
Yeah, it's powerful. Thank you, Lincoln Theater. So
shout out.
But I'm going to give you story time with B now.
Ooh, that you'll have this a lot. And
so
it usually is pretty funny.
So we can then have an opportunity to drink Jack and Coke here with our fans. So if you've got one at home, get it ready. All right. So I was lucky enough to marry the Thunder from Down Under, a lovely Australian girl.
She's amazing.
She is. And it was after a few years that we found out we were going to have a little baby kangaroo, and the family wanted to meet everyone. So 35 hours of travel with a very pregnant, wonderful woman.
Well, and we know how much you like people, so I'm sure that was a wonderful start to this journey for you.
And we had to... On that plane, we were told by doctor's orders she had to wear surgical compression pants. We had to get up every 45 minutes and walk around the plane for 18 hours.
That sounds like a great start to a trip.
It's a great start to a trip. And
tell us how much better it got.
Well, I'm an only child. Let's just make that very clear that
no one here could have figured that out.
If you have not figured, I'm an only child. And as an only child, I'm not used to being in a house with a bunch of people. In my home, my dad traveled a lot. So sometimes there was 2 of us, and that was a lot. That was a lot for me. So, but my wife has 3 sisters, and one of those sisters has a small busload, plus her 2 parents, has 5 children. I think at the time she had 4. 3? Okay, yeah, being told 3 at the time. You can't keep up when it becomes a whole basketball. When it becomes a basketball team.
Once you get past 2, it doesn't matter, 12, 14.
Yep. So here we are, and they're wonderful. They're absolutely wonderful people, but they don't consume 2 of my food groups.
Coffee and alcohol?
Coffee and alcohol. They stay away from caffeine and alcohol. So I'm a stress bucket. It's not them. It was me. I admit it. But after a few days, we're doing some family activities, and
because that's your third favorite thing is family activities. Forced family fun is this guy's favorite thing.
Traveling at Christmas with a very pregnant woman.
35 hours away.
35 hours away.
With no coffee or alcohol.
And no air conditioning.
And forced family fun.
And no air conditioning.
And forced family fun. Wow, this is great.
So we end up at a bowling alley. My favorite thing to do in the world. And I have a family member that's actually is a professional bowler. So I'm not knocking on bowling. I'm just not a bowler. And but the one thing that I did learn in college is that in every bowling alley there is a bar.
So that that lets you up with some hope inside.
I've never been so excited about bowling in my life. So we travel down to Lower Nerang or wherever the heck this place was. Ashmore. Ooh. Near the Gold Coast. And
beautiful area.
Beautiful. And there we go into the bowling alley. Guess what they don't have in this bowling alley?
Is it a bar?
They don't have a bar. We found the one bowling alley in all of first world countries without a bar. So I take my little Australian coins with the kangaroos on one side and the queen on the other. It was still the queen.
May she rest in peace.
May she R.I.P. Elizabeth too. And walk over and said, well, at least I can get a caffeinated beverage and get a Coca-Cola.
Hey, some caffeine at this point would probably feel
That's
pretty good.
That's right. And I'm thinking, you know what?
A little stimulant.
A little brown liquid from the state of Georgia is all I needed
That's all
at
you
this
needed.
time.
That's all you needed.
I look in a can, pre-mixed right there, available to anyone who can reach the coin slot. Guess what they had in a can?
Jack and Coke.
A Jack and Coke.
God, the Lord doth provide.
I went back
In your
to
time
my
of need.
wife. I went back to my wife and I simply said, I'm going to live in this bowling alley.
Did it have air conditioning too?
It had air
Oh
conditioning.
God, that was your.
Jack and Coke, baby.
You can pick me up on the way to the airport.
That's right.
That's where I stay now.
All of a sudden, her sisters liked me a lot more. I became a lot more fun to be around. And I spent my child's inheritance in Australian dollars on Jack and Coke. But then we traveled, this is 15 years ago, we traveled back to the good old USA, 35 hours. We were, if you've ever seen a globe, we were about as far away from the state of Tennessee as you can get without going to the sun. I mean, we were forever away, but they managed to have Jack and Coke in a can. We come back to the gold USA. I go straight to an ABC store. That's not true. I go straight to bed. Then I go straight to an ABC store thinking, I've just missed this. You know, we've been busy having our own little Joey, and we've been busy. I'm going to go see it. And do you think they had Jack and Coke in a can?
I'm going to bet they did not.
They did not, because here we live, whatever was going on, you still had to get your Jack the old-fashioned way straight out of one of these beautiful bottles. Notice that we do consume. And it always bothers me when I watch these shows and there's no alcohol out of the bottle.
You know, honestly, it makes me a little suspicious.
It does too.
Yeah.
But anyway, but flash forward 15 years later, I go in our Alphabet store. Guess what I find for us?
What did you find?
In a can, the old number 7. Here it is, folks. Jack and Coke Zero.
We should
Because
probably turn it so they can read it.
We're watching our calories.
Thank you for
You're
being
welcome.
considerate of our nutrition.
So cheers.
Yeah.
Cheers, y'all. Here we go.
Sounds like college.
Sounds like college. Here we go.
That's delicious.
That is fantastic.
So good. I don't know.
Oh, wow.
I don't know if the anticipation has just been killing me, but that tastes amazing.
That's amazing. You can get a 4-pack of these for...
Oh, man.
I have here for us a Coca-Cola in a bottle. But
Which
this is
also
regular.
began in the South.
Atlanta, Georgia, baby. But this is how Coke used to be made in the United States. No corn syrup. This, ladies and gentlemen, is from Mexico. Which
so it's
means...
got the good sugar.
That's right.
As God intended.
You know, you always want to go religious on us. But as
We are in the Bible Belt, B.
As Jack intended.
As Jack intended.
Jack intended. We have real Jack and Coke. Yes.
That's good.
That's good.
That's really good.
There's nothing wrong with that.
That tastes more like I think it's supposed to taste than this did.
This
is delicious. But I
think... You want to
think
go to a concert? You want to have a good time?
go with this.
You know, go with this. Don't take bottles out to the concert.
No glass.
Now...
But if you want to taste, I think what Jack probably wanted it to taste like.
This is what Jack wanted it to taste like right here.
That's delicious.
We told you, we're removing pretentiousness from this opportunity.
Right. And like we talked, just because something is widely, not wildly. It could get wild. Widely available and at a decent price point doesn't mean it's not delicious. And honestly, if Jack Daniel's is your favorite whiskey, own it and go with it.
But we're here to bring another opportunity to our viewers.
We are. And we're here to get into a little history because we're both nerds. I have a history degree. I don't know what your degree's in. So from what you've taught me, Jack Daniel's is kind of everyone's first foray into whiskey, but it's also was the first licensed distillery in the United States, correct?
I believe that's true. We've read that.
And so a lot of people...
You can find out and tell us wrong, and those dimensions, go for it. Keep going.
So a lot of people assume...
Our producer's Googling it. We have a producer. That's amazing. It's her husband.
We do have a producer.
Keep going.
He's pretty awesome, too.
We're recording this on an iPhone.
He's not from Australia, though.
We all can't be perfect.
So he's pretty close. So most people assume that Jack Daniel's was the first whiskey in the United States. And it was, in fact, the first registered distillery within the United States. So we were correct,
1866.
1866, baby. There's a lot going on around that time.
Yep.
On that note, there is actually a distiller and a whiskey that predates Jack, but has a connection to Jack.
Let's talk about it.
So back in the early 1800s, there was a slave in Lynchburg, Tennessee, named Nathan Green. who came to be known as Uncle Nearest. The Nearest came from a misspelling of his first name, actually.
Imagine that.
But that's kind of he's far more known as Uncle Nearest now than Nathan Green.
Absolutely.
And so he was born a slave in Lynchburg, and he was owned by a local Lutheran pastor named Dan Call, who operated a distillery on his farm.
Yep.
We can talk about the contradictions another time between being a reverend and owning a human being.
Yeah. So one of the things I think we need to acknowledge, we're both Caucasian. Mm-hmm. We're both from the South. And the South has a history. I mean, we can't escape that. Mm-mm. We have some personal opinions.
And honestly, you can't really talk about whiskey in North Carolina without getting into some of that.
That's right. So, we're not trying to gloss over the fact he was a slave. We're trying to acknowledge the contributions of folks that maybe have not always been acknowledged. And I think that's one of the things that Uncle Nearest is trying to do with.
Absolutely. So, and anytime we can highlight something that has maybe history has glossed over.
Yeah.
Anytime we can highlight contributions that maybe aren't as well known, we love to be able to do that. And if there's something we miss or something we get wrong, let us know. We're happy to shout it out and correct ourselves. So anyway, back to Nathan Green, Uncle Nearest. So he's working on the farm, and he gained a reputation for making great whiskey. So Nathan Green's on the farm. He's perfecting this process. He's distributing his whiskey to his neighbors, and along comes a young boy named Jasper.
That's right, Jasper.
And Jasper comes to work on the farm for Dan Call, and he kind of makes his way over to the distillery section of the farm.
Yep.
And Nathan Green kind of takes him under his wing, and he trains him, and he kind of turns him into his protege and teaches him all about the Lincoln County process.
That's right.
And so eventually Jasper becomes a pretty famous person that Bee's going to tell us a little more. But before we move on to that, I just want to shout out Uncle Nearest. Now has its own distillery, obviously named after Uncle Nathan Nearest Green. Their current master distiller is a descendant of Nathan Green named Victoria Butler. And she is one of the first, if not the first, female African-American master distiller in the United States. And their current CEO is also African-American. Her name is Fawn Weaver. They're wildly successful. I believe you told me that they're valued at around $900 million.
Yeah, Forbes listed it, I believe, in February of this year at $900 million for a boutique distillery.
Which is phenomenal. But even more impressive, they give back a lot to their community and to HBCUs, and they really stay near and dear and true to their history.
Absolutely.
But back to Jasper.
Yep.
So we've got Nathan Green kind of training up Jasper in the ways of the Lincoln County process. And then what happens with Jasper, B?
Jasper becomes Jack. And so let's put these right here next to one another. You got Jasper and Jack. So Jasper is Jack. He's Jack Daniels. Dad died in the Civil War. His stepdad died in the Civil War. And this is coming out of Fawn Weaver has actually written a pretty amazing book about Uncle Nearest. Peter Cross has written a pretty amazing book about the life and times of Jack Daniels, Blood and Whiskey, 2004. And so we're going to summarize quickly. Not a great family life, gets moved around quite a bit, ends up with the Reverend, and is hanging out, for lack of a better term, he's hanging out with Uncle Nearest, and he's learning this process. And the sugar maple, the Lincoln County process, I'm going to simplify it. I'm definitely not a distiller, and I'm not a chemist. They take sugar maple wood, cut it up, they douse it with 140 proof liquor.
Woo.
They light that bad boy on fire. It makes charcoal, as you can imagine. They filter it down to coal, and then they process with that coal. They filter their liquor through it, and that's what gives it its mellow taste. That's what gives it its Tennessee whiskey. Now, you can read all about the Lincoln County process. I'm just trying to give you, so when you hear about it being charcoal filtered, that's the Lincoln County process, and that's one of the two strict definitions of Tennessee whiskey. One, and I'm sure we're going to get lots of comments on this, basically it's got to meet all the qualifications of bourbon, except it has to be made in the great state of Tennessee. Mm-hmm. and it has to go through the Lincoln County process. I believe there's one Tennessee whiskey, and I cannot remember its name. Maybe we can check that out. There's one Tennessee whiskey that does not have to go through the Lincoln County process. So that's what he does. And in 1866, Jasper Daniels, or Jasper Daniels, wins a court case to get some of his inheritance from his family. And that's a big deal because he's going to use that to buy the land, acquire the land. And in 1884, he opens his distillery on the land. It's Pritchard's.
Wow.
Only Tennessee whiskey that is not using the Lincoln County process. Pritchard's. Well, maybe we'll learn about that later.
Hey, we'll have to check that out.
We'll have to check that out. So as you can see, they're paying homage to that. 1884. You see it in their 93 proof option.
Yeah, in the Uncle Nearest.
Yep.
Yes.
So, and by 1904, he wins the gold medal. 1911, Jasper dies, leaves it to his nephew because he has no children. His nephew's going to run the distillery until 1956 when it is bought by Brown-Forman out of Louisville, Kentucky. Brown-Forman is one of the world's largest corporations in terms of alcohol production.
It's huge.
Yeah.
But so that ownership was during some pretty volatile times for alcohol,
right.
Wasn't it, B?
So obviously they've got to get through Prohibition. 1920, the United States decides what?
They're going to legislate morality.
How'd it go?
We're still trying that, by the way. It's not going,
How'd it go?
It did not go well.
It did not go well, but it did give us bootlegging and the rise of organized crime.
I think that backfired, B. Maybe let the people have their whiskey is
Not
the moral
great.
of the story.
But we wouldn't have the movie in Untouchables, which means we probably wouldn't have Kevin Costner.
Well, thank God for Prohibition.
There we go. That's what we got out of it, folks.
So somehow
NASCAR.
Jack Daniels.
We got
NASCAR too. That's true,
Well,
and that is important to the South.
Important.
So Jack Daniels somehow managed to make it through all those years of Prohibition.
So 33 Prohibition ends, but they still gotta love the South, folks. Prohibition's over. What do? They don't allow any distilleries in Tennessee till 1938. So finally, they're able to move the distilling back to Tennessee. And to this day, I always have found this quite funny since learning it. Jack Daniel's Distillery is in a dry county.
It's ironic.
So they have to have a special law in the books in the state of Tennessee that allows the distillery to sell commemorative items at their distillery so that you can buy Jack Daniels at the distillery.
Welcome to the Bible Belt, folks.
That's
how we do it.
Any more real than that. So Brown-Forman now is running this industry, and Jack Daniels, the world's best-selling whiskey in the world, but they're also known for some others that we'll be trying later, not tonight, but other times, of Old Forester and Woodford Reserve and several others. But that's just to give you some idea
of how big Brown-Forman is.
Yeah, they're not small.
And I mean, everyone's heard of Woodford, everyone's heard of Jack, everyone's heard of Old Forester.
Yeah.
They're pretty prolific in the bourbon industry.
Absolutely. So let's talk about how these are the same and how they're different.
So just so everybody can see, we're comparing Uncle Nearest Maine bourbon, 1884, with your classic Jack No. 7.
Yep. And we're not expecting them to be the same because this is 80 proof. This is 93 proof, right? It's 93 proof. This is going to be aged at least 7 years. This is aged somewhere between 4 to 7 years. And then you have what's called their mash bill. Now, most people are going to know what that means. Mash bill are the ingredients, the grains that are put into this. In addition, obviously, the water. But you're talking,
some bourbons, some not.
So you're talking Uncle Nearest, 84% corn, 8% rye, and 8% barley. Jack Daniels, 80% corn, 8% rye, and 12% barley. So you're getting a little change up in there, but it's similar. Right. And we're not distillers, so we do know that rye, if it's a higher rye content, it's going to be a little spicier. But they both have about 8% rye. One has a little more corn than the other. So maybe we should expect one to be a little sweeter. I don't know. I don't know if we can tell 4%.
We're going to try.
We're going to try, though. So, and then we're going to taste some other things. But as we can see, we've got these two. Price point.
Yeah, I was about to say, you could tell the good folks the price points we got going here.
Take your federal credits to the ABC store, and you can pick up a bottle of this for anywhere between $19.99 and $25.
Wow.
This you're going to spend closer to $49 to $50. I think it's been on sale recently. They had a sale in North Carolina, and the Wake County ones for $45.99, which I think is a steal. But But you got to know what your price point is, and you got to know what you're getting. So let's give this a shot.
compare them and see if it's worth the extra bucks here.
I love this sound. Wait, it's a screw top. Never mind.
Oh, I get to do the
You
awesome
get
sound right now. Oh, it didn't pick it up well. We'll have to talk to our producer about that.
All right, so there's one jack.
This will be my first ever Jack straight. You know, it was unseemly to drink whiskey straight in college.
We're bringing this to the people. So let's set that.
We're doing this for you.
That's right.
All right, so let's put Jack on the left, Uncle Nearest on the right, so we keep them straight.
Why don't we put Uncle Nearest in the center?
Okay.
These fancy glasses are available on Amazon. We'll link it in the description. So, we got Jack on the outside.
Yeah.
I can smell the sweet.
Mm-hmm.
I can smell the sweet.
The sugar maple.
Yep.
It's got a bite to it.
A little bite, but we had something last night that was 121 proof.
We did. 24.
So, 124 proof. So,
Don't shortchange us.
But this went smooth with the Coke. I mean, in all honesty,
it isn't.
really
Honestly, it's
Coke.
not smooth straight.
No,
I mean,
it's fine.
it's fine. It's not my favorite. I'm not going to pretend like it's going to become my go-to sipping bourbon, but I can taste why it's excellent mixed with other things.
Yeah.
I can taste the corn too.
We are not. We're just folks.
We're just telling. We do not have refined palates. We're not gonna spew a whole bunch of words that we find on bourbon websites to sound impressive. We're just gonna tell you what we taste.
Yeah. But I do find bourbon the smell. Mm-hmm. The smell is so important.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
All right, that's Jack.
That's Jack.
Let's try.
And again,
the
that's average around $20 to $25, right?
Yeah, $25.
So it's very affordable.
It's affordable. It's out there, and you can buy it in big bottles.
Real big bottles.
You can buy it in
All right,
big
so we
bottles.
going to Uncle Nearest?
The Uncle.
All right, again, this is the 1884, right?
This is the 1884. So we also have an 1856 we're going to try in just a second.
I'm excited. So again, remind us of the price point of the 1884.
So this is going to be closer to $50 a bottle.
So it's a little bit more of an investment.
And we're going up proof. But what you're also paying for, one, it's a little more of a boutique, obviously. And you're also paying for, it's older.
Yes.
And I mean, that's the thing about bourbon. When you're talking about whiskey and bourbon, there's an investment when they put this stuff in a barrel and they don't touch it again for 7 years. Mm-hmm. I mean, we can acknowledge that that's an investment. So it's going to cost a little more.
Yeah. So let's give it a smell. Mm.
And because I live in North Carolina, I've had a sinus infection for 25 straight years.
Haven't we all?
Smells good, though.
It does smell
Smells good.
It's very mellow.
It's mellow.
It's got a little bit of a stronger taste, more flavor profile.
You could drink that all day. Let me back that up. I could attempt to drink that all day.
You could sip that.
It's pretty.
Yeah, it's pretty. It's got a pretty color. That is mellow.
It's got a little mouth to it.
Easy to drink.
It's got a little mouth to it.
It's easy to drink, though. It's light.
And if the 93 proof, 94 proof is bothering you, you throw a little ice cube in there.
Mm-hmm.
Mellows it right down.
That's good.
It is good.
It's good.
I
would say, but do we think it is it $25 a bottle better than the Jack? If you're sipping it straight, I say absolutely. If you're mixing it, I don't know. I think if you're mixing it, you can go with the Jack and be just as happy.
And just go get a can.
You can do that too.
Just go get a can. And I think that's a responsible thing, right? I mean, if you're having friends over who are not familiar with bourbon, let's be honest. Where do you want to start them? And where do you want them to be comfortable? And if you tell them Jack Daniels, if they haven't heard of Jack Daniels, first figure out what bunker they've been in.
That's true.
You know,
or rock they've lived under.
Is it Kimmy Schmidt from the Unbreakable Kimmy Schmidt? Has she been in the bunker?
Or is it your wife from Australia?
Yep. And so, and that's a good input. But the next piece is one of the things I like about bourbon is you do need to learn a little bit about it to enjoy it.
I think that's true.
So being able to say, look, here's Jack Daniels in your Coke. Now let's talk about Uncle Nearest. I think that's good for a party.
I enjoy myself.
You
bust out the Jack and the Uncle Nearest and say, let's compare. I think that's a good time.
That's a good time.
I definitely, like I said, I think if I had to pick between the two to sip straight, it's got to be the Nearest.
Absolutely.
But again, if you're buying to mix, save $25 and go with the Jack. Would you agree?
I would agree.
Yeah. So I think we have a couple other, one more Nearest and one more Jack to try, don't we?
We do. So we're going to be transparent on the show. This was when we went to the ABC store. The little bottle's all they had, so you can make fun of our little bottle. But this is Jack Daniel's Single Barrel Select. So Jack is obviously they're a huge corporation, and in the past 20 years, past 15 years, we have seen the bourbon industry explode. All types of stories about 20 years ago being able to walk into a store and they would have to put Pappy Van Winkle on sale. And now...
I'm sorry, what?
Yeah.
I thought that was an urban legend.
No, it's true.
I thought Pappy Van Winkle was an urban legend. We've never seen it here in North Carolina.
Didn't know it existed. But so Jack is, they know what they're doing. I mean, we can talk about big industry. Jack Daniels knows what they're doing.
Yes, they do.
And so they have tons of offerings, and one of the ones they're offering now is a Single Barrel Select. This is at 47% alcohol. So do the quick math.
94, I believe.
94%. And being at single barrel, folks, that means that this all came out of one barrel. So there's no mixing. This is the juice out of one barrel. We've got that. We were not able to obtain an Uncle Nearest single barrel because we live in
the tortured state of North Carolina.
Tortured bourbon, folks. Tortured bourbon. But we have been enjoying their award-winning.
We almost enjoyed it, but and didn't have any left for this podcast. Here.
1856. So price points. If you're buying the fifth of this,
is it that expensive?
No,
it hurt.
Absolutely
it hurt
not.
that bad?
No. But but to be honest, you're going to pay closer to 70 to 80. Mm-hmm. I don't know what it is in other states, but that's about what we're getting here. And this you're going to pay when you buy a fifth. You're going to pay. I think we saw it today, Katie, for about $60, $65 a bottle. And that's going to vary.
And what are our proofs here?
Oh, so your proofs here, you're talking 100 proof. Mm-hmm. So, it's going to wake you up a little bit more. Mm. But we've been drinking some higher proof stuff.
We have. We've been training our palate,
and,
folks.
This is coming in closer, you said, about 94%.
Right.
So, but what these should be...
I can't believe you asked the lawyer to do math, by the way. That's really dangerous.
If you're going to drink... If you're going to start spending this level for what we make, my strong suggestion is you need to enjoy sipping this. Mm-hmm. Maybe a little for an old fashioned.
I started to say we've
made
an old fashioned. I think,
but we need
or a Manhattan,
but
something like that.
I'm not certain that you would want to put a Coca-Cola with this.
Probably not. You would the only drink I would make with something like this is something that you still taste. The bourbon.
Now, if we could ask our lovely helper to go get us 2 more glasses, because we don't do math very well.
We don't. I think we also overestimated our ability to taste.
Oh no, we could keep
a lot
tasting.
of bourbon
because we're going to keep tasting, but
it will not go to waste, folks.
It will not go to waste. But we want to be respectful of people's time.
There you go. That was a nice little pop sound.
We're gonna rock this bad boy.
I think we've rocked that bad boy a few times.
Yeah, we're not going to have a whole lot of this. But on this show, we drink our bourbon.
Yeah, unlike other places, we make sure we don't recommend anything that we haven't drank ourselves.
Well, we don't, but we are trying something new for the first time.
We are. Yeah. We are. And we'll tell you on the fly whether we recommend it or not.
But as you can see, the Jack Daniels, the 1884, in fact, we got a new bottle. We were out of 1884. We've had several bottles of it, but now we're going to have to be going next. We can't go on Sunday.
Oh, yeah, that's another fun thing, guys. We can't buy liquor here anywhere on Sundays.
And you got to wait till...
Well, you used to have to wait till noon to buy beer or wine, but now, thanks to our lovely governor who helped pass the brunch bill, we can now buy it after 10, right?
Maybe.
I believe
Sounds
it's 10.
good.
I believe it's 10.
So we got 2 more glasses here.
Don't pour it in there.
Nope.
Don't combine it with my Uncle Nearest.
Yeah, let's not do that. Now, in pouring it, I can already tell you that the Jack's got a little more color to it.
Mm-hmm.
It's a little deeper color.
It's darker.
I'm just telling you that, folks. I'm not saying that's a reason to buy it. But, all right, so
Which one are we going with first?
Let's go to the Uncle.
Okay. You can tell that's a higher proof just from the smell.
Yeah, but still approachable.
Definitely.
Definitely approachable.
I'm not scared.
And that's why that bottle is empty.
That's a good bourbon.
Oh, we've had several friends over, and we've recommended that one.
Oh yeah, that's always
let's be honest. We've entertained with that.
That finish is fantastic.
Oh yeah, I have several friends who this is their go-to.
When we can get it, folks.
I have several friends. This is their go-to, and I appreciate them introducing it to me. I will not mention them on camera because we protect the innocent. But thank you.
Are any of your friends innocent?
Until proven guilty.
Oh, that's
good.
So good. That's so good.
That's so good. Oh, there it is. There it is.
There it is.
There it is. Yeah. If you're at a party, if you're at an event, if you have the opportunity and someone wants you to try this,
give it a try.
Give this a try.
Absolutely.
So let's summarize, because we know you've been with us now for almost as long as an episode of Lord of the Rings. Let's talk about what we have
not
here.
Quite that long, friend. Those movies are 14 hours long each.
Let's talk about what we have here. If you're going to a concert, we highly recommend, if you're 21 and not driving.
Yes, correct.
Jack and Coke in a can.
Can't beat it, folks.
It's
hot outside. You're listening to live music. It tastes like nostalgia.
You know what you missed the other night?
What?
Alanis Morissette.
We can't talk about it. Isn't it ironic?
Don't you think? Oh. So if you're going to a concert, yes.
Yes, absolutely.
Or if you got like 30 people coming over and you just need something quick, if you need to mix a drink.
Number 7. Go with the number 7.
Yep.
It's a great choice.
If you want to sip, you want a little experimentation, you're willing to find some hard-earned dollars. And let's be real, folks. $45, $50 on a bottle of bourbon or a bottle of whiskey.
For a quality bottle.
It's not, but for the working woman or the working man, that's not that's an investment.
Nothing. It's not
that's
nothing.
An investment.
Yeah.
But don't mix this.
No.
Don't mix this.
And definitely don't mix the 1856.
And just
drink it straight, friends.
And it's gone. We are going. The nice thing is when we started this venture, bless her, my partner in crime over here, we started splitting our bourbon bills 50-50.
I still think that's why you wanted to do this show. So I would co-fund your bourbon habit. Although it's become my bourbon habit too, to be fair.
You know, happy life. I don't know.
Happy neighbor, happy life.
This is good stuff. We're not going to lie.
It's very good.
If you see it at a bar, see where you're, yeah, and have it straight.
Yeah.
Have it straight.
Sip
Give it a taste. If you're a little scared of 100 proof, which you might be when you're getting into this,
put it over an ice cube.
Look, we know there's some folks out there who you've been drinking the 121, the 124s. Put this on an ice cube. Give it a sip. Give it a little square ice, a little round ball ice. And we are not going to diminish it. It really is good.
That was pleasantly delicious.
And you know, that's the thing. So we've been I've been trained through microbrew, because I got to tell you, I'm not drinking Bud Light, Coors Light, or Miller Lite. That's not pretentiousness. It has no taste.
It's just preference.
We've been trained to drink microbrew.
Oh, in North Carolina, absolutely.
And there's a good reason. It's better.
It is. Craft brews are popular for a reason.
But look, all you got to do to call it beer is ferment it. I mean, let's get real. But if you're going to call something whiskey, Tennessee whiskey, or bourbon,
it takes work.
The one thing, it takes work. It takes craft. It takes pride. So we're going to shout out Jack Daniel's.
Absolutely.
And we're going to shout out the Single Barrel Select. But we're also going to shout out Fawn Weaver. Mm-hmm. And we're going to shout out the work they're doing. And that's amazing. I mean, she's...
And Victoria, their master distiller.
Absolutely.
Victoria Butler.
I think, and I might have this wrong, but I don't think that Fawn Weaver is a day over 49. I could be wrong. Wow. So you've got an African-American woman CEO.
Just killing it.
Absolutely killing it. And she's also an author. So look, episode 3, stick with us. We're going to do something a little different.
I think we're going to venture into the cocktail round.
We are going to venture into the cocktail round. We are going to experiment with 4 different bourbons.
Ooh, stay with us, folks.
What makes the best affordable whiskey sour? And we're also going to do what? We're going to make one from scratch and one
with a affordable store-bought whiskey sour mix.
Affordable store-bought, yes.
And we might even experiment on my husband, who has a bit of a history with whiskey sour mix.
And interesting enough, he does not like whiskey, but he likes a good whiskey sour.
He does.
Sounds like my mother.
Your mother, who doesn't drink liquor.
That's true. My mother, who doesn't drink liquor, but she drinks whiskey sour.
Now, then there's your cousin Terry, who does drink a little liquor.
We might have Carrie on the show.
Oh, that would be an experience for all of you folks. Well,
ladies and gentlemen,
thank you for joining us. We want to shout out our producer, my amazing husband Ryan, and our art director, social media director, all around amazing Aussie, Katie.
Cheers, y'all.
Cheers, y'all.
Like and subscribe. Find us on the social medias.